Greetings, everyone. Jim Walker here. Welcome to the channel. Whether you are just starting out with this video in the series or if you have been working your way through, starting with the first two videos that preceded this one, welcome to this video. We are dealing with the topic of vibraphone parts and big band arrangements. Specifically, if you are a high school or college student playing vibraphone with the school big band, the fact that you are going to be tasked with coming up with parts to play on the vibraphone. They basically don't ever, well, with rare exception, you don't find vibraphone parts written into big band arrangements by the arrangers. So it's just a truism. In the first video, we talked a little bit about why that is. But you, the vibraphonist, you guys are the target audience for these videos. You're going to have to come up with parts. In the second video, we talked about your most likely source material. You're going to get a stack of music from the band director, probably piano, possibly guitar. We talked about those instruments, what you need to do to adapt those parts to the vibraphone, because it's all about coming up with something that's going to fit the vibraphone and be playable and sound good within the context of the arrangement. But let's say, as we move forward into this video, you've gotten your piano music, you've gotten your guitar music, and you've either taken the part and you've made some notations, take this up the octave, down the octave, don't play here, or you've written a brand new vibraphone part, taken out manuscript paper, got out your notation software, and actually created a part. And you're at rehearsal and you're playing your parts and you listen, you hear something in the horns and you think, boy, that'd be nice if I doubled that on the vibes. Maybe it's the melody of the tune, maybe it's the melody of some background figures, or maybe it's the shout chorus, or could be the saxophone soli. I don't know if the saxophones would want you playing along, but you never know. But it's something in the horn parts, and you think it would sound good doubling that on the vibraphone. So you go to your friend who's playing the first alto part, and you ask for a copy of her part, and you put it up on the stand, and you play along, and it does not sound good at all. Welcome to the world of transposition. And that's what we're going to focus on in this video. That's the biggest challenge you're going to have, taking what you see or hear in a guitar part, or in a trumpet part or a saxophone part, and adapt that to the vibes. Trombones will include, just to say that trombones are, as we mentioned earlier, the piano and vibraphone are both concert instruments. Trombones are a concert instrument. What you see on the page is exactly what you hear. Last example, we took a piece of paper, manuscript paper, we wrote middle C on it, hand it to the pianist, play this note, you hear middle C. Put it up on the guitar, or put it up on the vibraphone stand, you play it, you hear middle C. Hand it to the guitarist. We forgot to do this in the last video. Take that piece of paper with middle C on it, hand it to the guitarist. You will not hear middle C, you will hear C one octave lower than that. Guitar transposes, it sounds one octave lower than written. So we've got the written note and the sounding note. Written note's what's on the page. The sounding note is what you actually hear in the room. And I thought I originally wanted to include a discussion of why do we have transposing instruments? What's the point? Why transposing instruments? And I thought there might be some nice, neat, concise definition or reason or thought behind it. I'm going to leave that to you guys. If you're curious about that, I'll let you go on and do this search. It was Byzantine. It was a rabbit hole. Well, for this instrument, we do it because we've always done it. This instrument, it puts it in the proper range of the instrument. This instrument is so you can switch from one saxophone to the other and still have the same fingerings for different notes. And too much for me. If you want to check into that, I welcome you to do that. We're just going to work with the given that we need to deal with transpositions. That's as far as I'm going to go with this. Why we have transposition, I'll let someone else out in the world of YouTube do a video about that. I'm sure someone has, not me. So we're going to go through some of the transpositions here, and I'm going to be putting notated examples up on the screen. So piano, we talked about this in the previous video, sounds as written. So in these measures, you're going to see the written note and the sounding note, what you see on the page and what you hear when it's played on the instrument. There's piano, there's guitar. Let's slide down to B-flat trumpet as I go through these quickly. And by the way, I'm going to try to keep this moving as quickly as I can. These are long videos already. The pause button is your friend. And if you also, any decent orchestration or jazz arranging book will have these transpositions in it as well. But hopefully this will be a resource for you and for my students. So we go on to a trumpet part. You hear something in the trumpet part, and whether you want to deal with all four parts, more likely you're just going to deal with the top voice, which is going to be trumpet number one. You look at the music in a big band arrangement, the individual parts that go to each player. Upper left-hand corner is the traditional place to put this. You will see the name of the instrument that the part was written for, so it gets played on the right instrument. And you're going to see B-flat trumpet, E-flat alto saxophone. What's with the note names? The note names tell you the transposition. If you write a C on the page, what note do you hear? So with the trumpet, the B-flat trumpet, and there are C trumpets, there's a C melody saxophone, but B-flat trumpets, E-flat alto, B-flat tenor, the ones we talk about today, are going to be the standard instruments you'll hear in a big band arrangement. B-flat trumpet, it sounds, the note that you write, when it's played on the instrument, it sounds one major second or a whole step lower than written. So in our example here, we start with that same piece of paper, we take it away from the guitarist, and we hand it to our trumpet player. We've got written middle C. Say, play this note, you will hear B-flat below middle C, whole step below. If you write C, D, E on the page for the trumpet part, you will hear B-flat, C, D. And notice that the key change transposes as well. The written measure, C major, no sharps, no flats. The second measure in this example, key signature of 2 flats. You're in the key of B-flat now. That's what if you look at the piano part in this hypothetical arrangement, the piano part would have two flats in it. The guitar part would have 2 flats in it. So keep that in mind as you are transposing and working off of these parts. So you kind of have to, you take the written note, do it a whole step lower. And by the way, we're going to continue through the rest of the horns. I want to caution you now, especially if you're in high school, and if you're like me, when I was in high school, I've only ever played mallet instruments. I've never played other instruments, never played clarinet or trumpet or guitar or anything else. Well, I play piano. Who doesn't play piano? But I've never played a transposing instrument. So when I started to deal with this, it felt like I was translating something out of the original Greek. I felt like I'm never going to keep up with this. This is too complicated. It's not as bad as it might sound. It's not as complicated as you think. Hang in there. Do some of this. Do some transposition. You will get used to it. It's just that as mallet players, it's rare that we get called upon to do it. It's a new skill. Be patient with yourself. You'll get it. If you can handle multiplication and division, addition and subtraction in math class, you have the mental capacities to deal with transposition. It's not even that bad. So hang in there. You'll get it. Don't be intimidated by this. You can do this. Moving on. So we got the B-flat trumpet. Trombones, next instrument in the band, as written. You write C, D, E. Hand that piece of paper to the trombone players. They play this. You're going to hear middle C. Sounds as written. Let's go to the saxophones. It gets a little more interesting here. Usual saxophone instrumentation in a big band, traditionally altos, tenor saxophones, baritone saxophone. You might see soprano saxophone. If I remember correctly, it's the Groove Merchant. Thad Jones includes a soprano sax part. Not on her. I'm going to include it here. It'll take 10 seconds to include it. Same thing, B-flat and now E-flat. We'll start with the B-flat instruments. The B-flat soprano saxophone. It's exactly the same as the B-flat trumpet. The note sounds a whole note lower than written. Take that piece of paper with middle C on it, hand it to your saxophonist holding the soprano saxophone, and play that note. You will hear the B-flat below middle C, just like you did on the trumpet. In fact, all I did is I took the same 4 measures from the trumpet example, cut and pasted it, labeled it for soprano saxophone. It's the same thing. Now, B-flat tenor saxophone, there's a little wrinkle there. It sounds a whole step lower, but it's not just that. It's a whole step plus an octave. So if you take a look at the B-flat tenor example, you'll see middle C notated, the written note. The sounding note, you get B-flat second line bass clef. So a major second plus an octave. I've also heard it called a compound major second or a major ninth. Any of those different labels for the same thing. Down a major second and go an octave beyond that. So you can see in the example, if I write C, D, and E in the middle of the treble staff, you will hear B-flat, C, and D ledger lines below the staff. So a major second plus an octave. Alto saxophone, we'll talk about ranges in a moment. Alto saxophone, E-flat alto saxophone. You write a C, grab that piece of paper, now you give it to your alto player, play this note, you will hear, instead of middle C, you will hear E-flat, third space, bass clef, a major sixth lower. So you write C, D, E, and you will hear E flat, F, G. And again, the key signature has changed from no sharps, no flats in the written part. If you look at the piano part in this hypothetical arrangement, you'll see 3 flats. E flat baritone saxophone, same idea as with the tenor saxophone. E flat baritone saxophone, you write a C, you hear an E flat, but it's down to major 6 plus an octave. So you grab that piece of paper. It's gotten crinkly and torn and wrinkled and beat up by now because you've given it to so many players. That piece of paper with C, middle C written on it. Say, play this note, and you will hear E flat, 1 ledger line below the bass clef. So you're going way down there. And by the way, the B flat below middle C, if I remember my orchestration and jazz arranging classes correctly, that's the lowest written note in the saxophone range. So we're getting down in the lower range of the bari sax when you write that middle C. Same thing, you write C, D, E. Same example, same result that you get as with the alto saxophone, but an octave lower. As you can see, now we're down in the bass clef. Now, the good news on this is if you're going to be copying melodic material from the horn part, you're probably going to be dealing with trumpet 1, top part, first trumpet, or the first E flat alto saxophone. So it's not that common that you're going to be transposing, the baritone saxophone part or the second tenor saxophone part. Those are the 2 instruments you're going to deal with most: B flat trumpet, E flat alto saxophone. Yeah, I remember getting into this when I was in college and I started to do big band arrangements. I thought this was going to be horrible. By the time I finished my first big band arrangement, I was going very smoothly with the transposition. And horn players actually learn how to do this on site if you get to a certain level of accomplishment. You'll hand them a piece of music, a guitar player, a vibraphonist, a singer will write out a piece of music, concert pitch, give it to a B flat, someone holding a B flat trumpet, and they learn how to read that to make it sound good on their instrument. So you write C, D, and E, and they'll know to play D, E, and F sharp. They know how to do that from experience. So if they can do that in real time, we can do it with a pencil and paper or with keystrokes on a computer or with your notation program. So don't get intimidated. It's not that bad. It just takes a little while to get used to, but you can do this. And you do this. This will let you play these parts on the vibraphone. We saw some of the notes down here. We're going down into the bass clef. The lowest note on a standard 3-octave vibraphone is 4th line bass clef F. So our example notes in the B flat tenor saxophone, 2nd line B flat, it's below the range of the vibes. Alto saxophone, below the range of the vibes. And the E flat bari saxophone, that E flat, way below the range of the vibes. Trumpet, pretty close. B flat saxophone, pretty close for our purposes. Guitar goes lower. Move things into the octave where it makes it sound good on the vibes. Adjust things as you need to. Make it sound good on your instrument. Adapt things that way. If we were talking about Bach, we might get into a little bit greater discussion of changing notes on the page. But for arrangements like this, make it sound good on the vibraphone. Make it sound like something the arranger would have written. Make it something that sounds good on the instrument and that bears up to repeated playing. So that's the big thing with the horn parts is the transposition. We're not going to get into subtleties about what scales and shapes fit well on the instruments and fingerings and all that. We're not getting into that. It's just the nuts and bolts thing of dealing with transposition. So that closes our chapter on dealing with the horns. We're going to get ready for the 4th video in this series where we talk a little bit about, rather than taking existing parts in the band and reproducing them on the vibraphone, basically dealing with orchestration, about coming up with some new material. So we got a few examples for that. So thanks for checking out the videos. Hope you come back and check out the 4th video. Links to all the videos in the series will be in the description, and as well as some other supporting videos outside of this series. And thanks for checking it all out. Hope to see you in the next one.